Ba-boom boom, and ladies and gentlemen, we are live once again.
Is this where the music is playing, or?
Yes.
And they cannot hear us, or they can hear us?
They can hear us.
Oh, hello. They can hear us. It's confusing, this thing. Whoa, 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 whoa. What is
Don't
all
worry. It's okay. There's nothing we can do about it now.
that? And we are live, it seems.
Well, hi there.
Hi. I'm June.
Settle in.
I'm settled.
No worries. All right, well, we're here for another episode or
Another sesh.
another sesh on the couch with the fuzzy
Couch,
blue.
sesh, fuzzy blue, and fuzzy cushions and blankets, and yet again, here we are at the end of the day. I've just finished working just tiny bit ago.
Yep.
There might be more yawns and burps and farts, but hey, man, this is a safe space.
Whew. Do we want to look at a review of your week? Check in.
We can't
Weekly
really.
check-in?
It hasn't been a week because last time
hasn't.
it's only been like 2 days. But the reason why we're doing this on Monday, when we'll be for the next couple of sessions, is because I'm going to be leaving from tomorrow. I'm going to be gone for a while, so
We won't be able to do
we
this
won't be
for a
able to
while.
do this on. Yeah, so we're trying to get it done.
Get it done.
You
You know, the key is just consistency.
That's the key.
And
The reason you're alive is because you consistently took breaths. You kept
true
breathing.
that. And it's I think it's our greatest weakness.
Breathing?
No, consistency.
I dispute that.
What are you
I would like to
consistent
challenge. I'm consistent with
Tell me. Come on.
with breathing. Let's go real.
Okay, basic. Yes.
Micro.
Yes. Start basic.
Start basic. I breathe. I eat.
Yes.
I brush my teeth.
Yes. Okay.
I use my eyes.
Okay.
I'm very consistent.
You use your eyes.
Yes.
Okay.
Every day of my life,
All right,
I have
guys.
used my eyes. And if that's not consistent, I don't know what is. I don't know.
Okay. Beyond those things that everyone does.
I have consistently cut my nails.
Good.
I have groomed. Sometimes I'll fall, but I've always get back on. I consistently get back on taking care of myself in small
That's true.
ways. Okay.
You know what you're consistent with?
Tell me.
I think you're really consistent with changing.
Oh, that's true.
You change and you
I'm
keep changing.
consistently
you've
inconsistent.
Yes, you're consistently inconsistent. You keep changing. You're not the same person you were a year ago or 2
No, I
years
am
ago.
not.
And so that's very consistent. I can pretty much count on that.
Super evolvey.
If there's something that I hate that you're doing, I'm like, it will change eventually because you always change,
Wow, that's nice.
right?
I guess I never thought about it like that, but that's fair. So you just gotta grit your teeth and ride it through.
No, I mean, yes. Yes.
Yes and no.
I mean, no, it's for me, it's a comforting thing to know. Well, it's scary too sometimes, but I know for certainty that things change and you change, and no matter where we're at or what's happening, things will not stay this way. So I guess sometimes it's kind of frightening, like, oh, what's coming next? But for the most part, it's kind of exciting, and especially when things feel stuck. I'm like, oh, well. We'll change.
True.
We'll keep changing.
It never stays for too long because I keep moving forward.
So that's, I don't know. For me, that's super. I don't know. I can count on it. I trust you with that.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So
thanks.
I was supposed to bring a theme, right?
Yeah, that's right. We decided in the last episode, after taking a 8-month hiatus.
Yeah, it was like 7-8 months.
7-8 months or so, that now we will every episode, I guess, each of us will come up with a theme. It can be abstract, it can be very pointed and direct, but we'll talk about that. And this week it's Masa's turn.
Until we come up with we might change it too.
The format might change.
We might come up with another idea and then just
Like
be
all things,
yep,
this podcast
that's right.
will be evolvey, consistently
That's right.
evolvey, and you'll never know what you're getting, but you know you'll get us.
So I was thinking about it, and I was like, gosh, this is hard coming up with a theme. Like, themes are so, I don't know, they're just so themey. But I thought for this episode, the theme that I bring to the table, or the thing that I want to talk about a little bit, is being bored and what you found there. So especially as a kid, I had so many times being so bored. I don't know about you,
Yeah, totally.
but like just wanted to talk about stories about being bored and what you did to to remedy the boredom and what you found there, what you learned from there, anything interesting that you did. And then I guess just looking at our situation now and our boredom, Junia's boredom.
So the question is, what did I do as
There's no real question. It's just an overall idea that I just wanted to talk about or just like explore with you.
well, this is something that we've been coming up with quite frequently, because up until now, I would say that our pattern, at least especially with raising Junior, is that I am very okay with a lot of times just sitting in the nothingness and allowing the boredom to take over. And because I believe very strongly that all creativity and like originality comes from sitting in that uncomfortable space of boredom and not distracting yourself with something else. And so, but with Junior, like up until now, what the pattern has been is I feel like with you, and just tell me if I'm completely off, feels like you do more with Junior to try and fill the space with, maybe it's, learning something or working out, exercising, distracting, many things. It's just like if there's something and he's bored, then you're like, okay, let's figure out something to do.
Yeah, I don't know if I do it for him or if I do it for me. I think I do it more for me. I don't like to just sit around and like not know what we're doing or just be like, I get bored. So I do things because I don't want to be bored. Like I'd rather start a project or learn something new or get into something than just sit around being and having his kind of hungry energy for something to do and me just kind of being like, how many hours in the day do we need to kill? I'd rather be like, we don't have enough time to do this new thing that we're into, than being like, we have another 3 hours to dinner or whatever. So I guess I think I do it for me more than I do it for him. But yeah, I definitely have that tendency to want to do something,
That's understandable. Well, these days I feel like it's harder and harder to be bored because there's just so many things that you can do.
Do you get bored these days?
Sometimes I deliberately give myself moments to be bored and do the nothing, and I don't pick up my phone, and I just kind of sit and sit and allow myself to be. Call it bored, call it meditation, call it what you want. But I feel like it's really important, at least for me, because I'm a introvert / ambivert, so it's very important for me to have alone time to just recharge, and or else I lose it and I have nothing to give.
What about when you were like a kid? What are the times that you remember being really bored? Like there must have been certain stages or periods where you were more bored than others.
Yeah, I'm sure there were. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint a moment because I have my whole life is like just starts and stops and goes and all of that kind of stuff. But when I do remember being bored is because, when we were younger, growing up in the cult, we weren't allowed to watch any, regular TV or any shows other than the same ones that were created within the cult just over and over again. And the only literature that we had in our house was just like this huge set of encyclopedias and like different almanacs and stuff like that. So I remember just reading through encyclopedias around the age of 8 to 12 or so.
Yeah. Did they have the evolution pages glued together?
I think they might have been just straight up cut out. were taught evolution was a
was the
lie.
big lie.
It
It
was
wasn't
the
just a lie.
big
It was the
lie.
big lie.
Yeah, and oh, heaven forbid
Yeah,
we
it's
learn
amazing how many
about.
people. Oh, sorry to interrupt you. It's just I was just gonna say it's amazing how many people that I grew up with, who are very much out of the cult. Like they have rejected all things cult, but for some reason creationism and evolution is still this thing that they don't want to touch or even look into. For them, it's just like,
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. What isn't evolution a lie? What about
really?
Yeah, so many people,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
just like,
interesting.
and I'm like, well, look into it. Why don't you read some stuff about it? Like, aren't you interested in where we came from? Once you stopped, I don't know, believing in the idea that woman came from the ribs of Adam and shit. Then wouldn't you curiosity once again be sparked as to how we got here? I remember like trying super hard to carefully unrip the glued pages so I could look at
Wow, really? I think they were straight up cut out in our
they were
in our
smart to
case.
do that.
Yeah, because then there was nothing to do. So it would either be just reading through tons of whatever literature I could get my hands on, books, encyclopedias, magazines. I don't think we had National Geographic till later, but we definitely had Time.
Yeah.
Some Time magazines, but that was when I was a little bit older. And in lieu of that, I would find something to create. I would just make things. I would take out what we had. One thing we had was like tons of art supplies always, and so I would make shit with my hands. So I think that's like mainly how I spent my teenagehood. But then I'm trying to, now that I'm talking about it, I'm trying to remember even before that, like what gave me that drive to just go on my own and create something. Was it because I was left alone for so long that the only person that would get anything done would be myself, and that kind of just sort of decided my entire philosophy on life?
Right. I don't know. I think the creative spark is human. It's just a human
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I think all humans are creative. It's
I
just
agree.
that if you get given all the answers for you of what you need to do next, or what's do this, do that, and your day is full with a bunch of stuff to either distract you or keep you busy, then you don't get to exercise that muscle of creativity as much. And I think we got to exercise it a lot.
I agree.
And like until I was 7, we lived in what they called combo homes, which were massive communes of people, like 100 people, 150 people living together in this big big dorm or property, and so we had classes of kids that slept together. I don't know if we slept together all the time. We did definitely in some of them, but we did everything together, and there was a lot of kids your same age, and you lived with them. And so in those times, I don't really remember being as bored.
Right.
There was always
it was a
teachers
little bit.
teaching. You were definitely like abused and mishandled as a child, but you weren't bored. You were scared.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's a lot of scaredness, and also because if you were a little bit too bored, idle hands are the devil's playground. So you can't even just be there off in your imagination daydreaming, or else you'd get punished for that too.
Right.
So,
daydreaming was negative.
Daydreaming was a terrible thing.
Shoo,
We
shoo,
could not. Yes, there was a
daydream,
song about it
don't
too.
want you. Shoo, shoo, daydream.
So yeah, I around that age too, when we were living in combo homes, and I think on the weekdays mainly we would be with our classes, and then they would have a family day, and then we would be able to be with our parents on that one day.
So, yeah, I wasn't bored then. And I remember we moved. David Berg, who was the founder of the cult, the big cheese, #1 banana, David Berg, big bearded man,
Champion banana.
who he died, I think in 1994 or 1995. I'm not quite sure. I can't really remember. He died, and during that time, they had this kind of restructuring of everything, and all of these huge communes broke up into smaller homes, as they called them, like different
Yeah.
units, and they were still big compared to how people live normally. You know, they're 30 people, 20 people, but in my mind, we moved from a situation with tons of people and in some ways a lot of friends your same age to being
Yeah.
isolated. And the thing about that is we didn't go to school, and we didn't we didn't go to school, we didn't meet other people. We didn't have any sort of correspondence with anybody, and so when that happened, it was really like an extreme isolation, it felt like to me. And I remember as being 7 or 8 being kind of upset about it and being like, I wish we were still back in, you know, the old place, because we had a class and I had friends, and we went from that to being just on our own, kind of our family with a couple of scruffy teenage boys and a weird other couple, and like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
random.
Yeah.
But nobody else my age. It was just kind of, for the kids, it was just our family. And that was a time that I experienced true boredom. Yeah, and it was especially during that period before my mom got a good homeschooling sort of curriculum down, which she eventually did, where she kind of filled our day with studies and different things. But until, she was still trying to figure it out. So we had hours and hours in the backyard with nothing to do.
At least you had a backyard.
Yeah, we had a backyard. So I remember we found a food processor in the warehouse. Like we had this old blue tin warehouse, and we found this food processor that like ground up food, like it had a hand handle, and you could grind up food. And my sister and we just started putting everything possible into this food grinder outside in the backyard. We put leaves and acorns and fucking like anything. And we just got it, and we had this old cookie tin, and we decided like we're gonna try to make the best brick possible. And we had some tips because we watched 10 Commandments.
Yeah,
and you need straw to make bricks. It's like
Oh, you learned from the
and
Hebrews.
you gotta have. I learned from the Hebrews. The Hebrews made bricks with mud and straw, and you needed the straw.
Yeah.
So we were like, what is this straw business, and how does it make
How does it make a perfect brick?
A perfect brick, and we worked it out, and we made a brick that was so hard we couldn't break it once it dried, and we're like, yeah.
You had it. You had the technology.
But then that got boring,
Especially if you only have one cookie tin, you can only make one brick at a time.
We did so much shit in that backyard. Like I created a trap. I dug a hole and then put sticks over the top and leaves and stuff, so people would walk and fall into it.
Okay, now that you mention that, I do remember right outside our house, we had a little, like a hilly, very small foresty area that we would play around. It was like a really steep hill, and there was like a little bit of at the bottom, and I remember like the teen boys dug a whole fort, and they covered it up with these bamboo sticks, and then we also had this huge parking lot right outside too, and when we were older, that's where we could like go rollerblading.
Is that in Chiba,
yeah?
Yeah. That was a nice like setup that they had that.
Yeah, the location was really great, and they had like a pool pretty much right next door. So we would every summer go swimming there. Yeah. And
Man, did you ever play tennis there at the tennis court?
No. I was never really into it. I was more into the rollerblading. And then there was also this gorgeous old temple very nearby. And that place, it was just like full in the spring. It would be full of sakuras, like cherry blossoms everywhere. And so that was actually really, really beautiful. But I didn't really get to enjoy it as much as when I was younger, until I got older and we were able to go out on our own. There was these rules of 2x2. You couldn't go by yourself anywhere. You had to go with another partner or chaperone or someone to just, make sure that you're safe.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I guess that's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. I guess, people should look out for each other. It's good.
But, I don't think I would have started to play guitar if it wasn't for boredom. Like music and the time I spent practicing, a lot of that had to do with being bored. Like, we used to make our own radio show. Man, we had this old cassette player, and we would, we had like a electronic, super crappy electronic keyboard, and we would, turn on the little beats, and then, and we'd make our own radio show, and just random stuff to keep us from being bored. And if I think about it, like, the way I learned music theory even was because of that keyboard, and it had this light, the keys lit up, and it had this feature where if you pressed a button, you could turn it onto this mode where if you pressed a key, it would give you the major chord for that key. If you press C, it would say C major and show you the chords. The keys would light up for C major, and if you pressed C in another one, it would show you C minor, and it would show you C minor 7, and I learned all the chords by doing that, but I don't think I would have done that if I wasn't super, super bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that translated into playing guitar and other things, and I don't know. I don't know if I had an iPhone.
Yeah.
If I would have learned how to play an instrument.
That's what I was thinking these days. Like, honestly, if I had an iPhone or an iPad, I was allowed to watch, regular program TV or movies or any of that kind of stuff. I really don't think I would have become obsessed with learning or reading as much as I am now. I don't think it would have gone that deep because there was so little else to cling on to or to hold on to that was grounding in this world in a way, I had to make things. I had to create things to be like, this is real. Of course, I wasn't aware of it at that time. And everything was so transient because I was constantly moving back and forth between my mom and my dad who had separated. And it was really interesting. Okay, so like whenever I lived with my dad was highly prolific. He was always he was so creative. He still is. He's constantly making programs. He would be reaching out. He would make entire shows, and we would like have these huge dance troupes. And then he would go and talk to like what would NHK be in?
It's like BBC.
It's like the BBC,
I don't think they have the equivalent in the States. It's like public. It's public broadcasting.
Yeah, something like that. And so he would go there, and he'd be like, "I'm making an English program," and he would, literally sell it. And he created a studio in our house, and it was, he was always into something. He was always making, creating, writing, whatever. And so whenever I was with my dad, it would always be a whirlwind of just, getting your hands and feet dirty in some project. Not dirty, but, like being completely immersed in something and creating music, shows, whatever it is. Hi. But then when I went to my mom's place at the time when I was going back and forth between them, she lived in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, like at the very top of this mountain in Gifu Prefecture. And for the longest time, none of us were even allowed to know where she lived necessarily because she was
Selah.
She was Selah.
Which is, I don't know why they turned Selah into Selah, because Selah means think about it. Kind of, right? That's why in Psalms they say, whatever, Selah.
Yeah.
They say the psalm and then they say Selah to be like, think about it, or like, ponder this. But Selah for
in this case,
us growing up meant top secret, high security, hide from everyone.
Yeah.
Burn your trash, hide your wife, hide your kids.
Yes, very much so. And so my mom was living in that situation with the other half of my siblings, and I would go back and forth and visit. And so where that was, it was absolutely beautiful. It probably is the most immersed in nature that I've ever lived in my entire life. We were at the very peak, the top of this mountain, and everybody was living below us, and we're just surrounded by rivers and waterfalls and dams and nature. And like in the winter, the snow would pile up all the way to your chest, and that was actually probably the most
I'm just thinking of
friendly
you
of
standing there as the snow piles up to your chest.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, get out of the snow. What are you doing?
No, like you'd open the door and then it'd just be like you know,
Wow.
the snow, you know, yeah, it was amazing, and that was beautiful. But then there was nothing to do. Like the
Mm.
only thing we could possibly do was literally get into trouble. And so it's not when I was living in the city with my dad that I learned all sorts of terrible vices. It was living in the mountains with nothing
What
to
are you talking about?
do.
Terrible vices? What are the
Like,
terrible vices?
well, there was a lot of shoplifting. That's where I learned how to shoplift by a
Mm.
friend of mine. She's still a friend of mine now.
I did a lot of shoplifting.
I was never into shoplifting. I never liked it because I got more pleasure from making money and being able to buy something with that money that I worked for, because that just felt so much more satisfying to me than to just steal something. So I never got into it, but everybody around me was into shoplifting. And then also up there, because there's so little to do, there was lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble, huh? See, you paused there. You had a moment of
I had a
contemplation
moment of
of whether or not you're
contemplation.
going to say anything about
Yeah,
this trouble that you've gone to.
I
And it makes me curious.
I know,
Curiouser and curiouser.
curiouser and curiouser. Well, okay. The reason why I'm pausing is because there was a lot of sexual abuse, but I personally was not abused there,
I
so
see.
I
So
don't want to
you're
speak for
protecting
anybody else.
other
Yes,
people.
exactly.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I definitely got in a lot of trouble. I don't know if that has to do with boredom. It must, though. It must have had something to do with boredom. The thing that's really different that I feel now and then is that you could be in a situation as a kid, for me when I was that age growing up, like from 8 to, I don't know, 15, 14, whatever, where you could literally have nothing from the outside world coming in, right? So no TV, no music, no radio, no new information being fed in that you could sort of latch onto and be interested in.
Right.
You literally had your house and the things that you already had in it, whatever toys or objects or books that
Right.
you've read a million times, whatever
Yes.
video cassettes were around, that whatever tape cassettes that you've already listened to, and your backyard, and that's it. And if you've already consumed all of those things, and so you're like, what do I do now? So you can either go back and watch the same video that you've watched 14 times again, or you could like use your imagination to make your surroundings into something new, which is kind of what, I used to do, or like create something. Well, let's make something then, and I think that's when the creativity really comes out, is because you don't have anything, and so
Yeah.
you start making stupid songs, and you start
Yeah.
weird projects. And
I think especially your family though was more prone towards eccentricity.
yeah,
And so I think also being in a very isolated situation really just brought that out
yeah,
in a special way.
our family valued random.
Yeah.
Like all of us siblings, we put a high premium on randomness. It was the most valued thing. If somebody could say or do something random, then we applauded it. We
And
actually
you
had
would say,
we had a scoring system for how random things were, and we'd be like, yes. And the highest level was 42. We'd be like, yes, 42, very random.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
I don't know. So what about like with Junior, like how do you create moments of boredom? And I guess it's different because he also has no siblings right
Yeah.
now in the house with him.
Yes.
So boredom is also isolation or being
isolation
alone.
yeah. Yeah.
Whereas it wasn't like that for me. There was always my siblings or somebody to be bored with,
Right.
I don't know. So it's kind of, that's why I feel a little bit different about it. When he's by himself, I love it when he's playing by himself, which happens rarely.
It's starting to happen more now. He's getting more interested in doing things on his own.
Yeah, it's starting to happen little by little more now. Before it was like, I felt like sometimes I'm his only friend, and it's a hard role to be somebody's only friend. It's a big responsibility, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like, okay, if I'm not playing with him, or if I'm not showing interest in something with him, then he's just completely on his own, and he's just like, hey dad, look at this, dad, daddy, hey, and I'm like, dude, I'm so over being your friend right now. I just want to be like, can we, can you do something by yourself? And he's like, but can we do it together? I'm like, oh, okay.
Man. Well, yeah, I hear this happens with only children.
Yeah, I don't know. So I guess that's where I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna be with you, if we're gonna be together, and I don't want to be bored, and I don't want you pestering me, being like, "Hey, Dad, Daddy," and me not be interested. So let's just do something that's interesting for both of us. So we're
Right,
both
yeah.
in it, we're both interested, and we can make the time fly instead of it feeling like it's dragging on.
Yeah, I think you're definitely very good at that and getting down onto his level, but also having it be something that's interesting for you. I can't even pretend that I don't struggle with that.
Yeah, sometimes you're so not interested.
I'm so not interested, but then it's not like it has anything to do with him being my son. I'm just a very highly self-involved person. A lot of times I'm not even interested in what you say to me.
No, I know, and you are like the antithesis of collaboration.
That is not true. What are we doing here?
Collaborating.
Exactly.
That's right.
So I am not
know.
the antithesis. I am the
No, it's just that no, okay, and I know that sounds like a mean thing to say.
Yeah,
but
I know.
it's,
I do
don't
understand
mean
what
it
you
in a
mean,
mean
though.
way. I don't mean it like you
I'm-
don't like working with people. It's just that you do your best work when you
Yes.
are fully within yourself.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
not trying to compromise with other people.
Yes.
And many people, when they collaborate, it's about compromise. It's like
always is.
you wanna draw this, but they're actually kind of pulling you this way. And instead of it being like this free flowing thing where you're like, okay, we can do that, it cramps your style.
Totally cramps
It's
my
like-
style and it pisses me off.
Yeah, it's like Cusco, and it's like, oh, you threw off my groove, you know?
It's true. They throw off my groove and they mellow my harsh, and then they also harshen my mellow, and I can't deal with it. It's too much. And then I really try to communicate nicely, but then I'm so frustrated by the time that the words make it out of my disturbed soul, out of my mouth, that I often then
can see
ruin
it.
friendships.
Yeah, I can see it in your energy. Your energy just shifts, and you become very like a little pebble that will not move. You're just like, and I'm like, oh shit, she's broken now. Now we're not gonna
How
have
rude.
any fun.
Broken? How rude. How can you,
You know?
but it's not broken. It's just like, so when I'm in my element, then I feel very free and I'm open, and it's just like, okay, I can take this anywhere. And then when you're like, well, what about this way? Then I'm just like, well, you've stuck me in a box now.
It's
then
kind of, I think you feel threatened somehow, or like,
Well, because it's always just like these little wisps. Like it's like trying to catch smoke for me when I'm creating something, and it's so precarious. And I'm just like, all right, come here. And then you come in with like a big gust of wind, well, and you blow away my little wisp of smoke, and I'm just like, why? And it's so frustrating. I can't deal with your wind.
yeah, I understand. But that's my gift and my curse, is that like I have a million ideas, and it's like, it's kind of like let's see, it's kind of like a hurricane with a bunch of no, that's not a good analogy. Why do I need to come up with an analogy?
You don't need to.
It's like a river full of salmon. It's like a river full of salmon and other things that aren't salmon. And you just put your hand in, and there's so many of them that you'll just put, I can just put my hand in and pull up something, and I can put my hand and I can throw it back in, because it doesn't mean anything, because I could put my hand in and pull something else out. So for me, that's how ideas flow for me. It's like none of them are good, none of them are bad. They're just flowing, and if I want to, I can just put my hands in and be like, how about this? Nope. Put it back in. How about this? Nope. How about this? But then when I do that, and then I'm like, oh no, I ruined it.
You splashed water on my quiet, like.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I used to work with my friend Steve when we used to write, is that I would be this constant churning of ideas, and I'd kind of leave it to him to choose where he
direction.
wanted, not the direction he wanted to go within the free flowing of so many ideas.
I
like, we
see.
could do this, or we could do this, or we could do this, or hey, how about this? and then he'd be like, no, 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 no. Okay, I like that, you know.
I see.
But with you, sometimes I feel like within the within that me doing that process, I ruin it. I'm like, oh no, I've just
I know it's true. We've really struggled with collaborating many times in
for
the
sure.
past, and
Yeah.
there were points when I was just like, "Well, I love you deeply, but we will never work together." And I've just been like, "Bye, boy,
Yeah.
sayonara."
Yeah. We don't really. We
We struggle.
we
The only
struggle.
thing that we do well together, honestly, I think, is parent. And that was
No,
a
we
struggle
eat
because
food good together. Like we enjoy eating food together. We eat that food. Like if we
we
eat
haven't done that in a super long time, to be honest.
true. Yeah.
Not eat. We do eat.
But I believe in us. I believe in us.
Slow but steady progress. Steady over long terms.
But you might be right. That might be the one thing that we do truly collaborate in and give each other like a lot of space to
Yes.
be each other, and we
Yes.
don't judge each other so much, but we do check each other,
Yeah.
and we're able to listen to each other. That's really cool.
Yeah.
At least, do you think that it's because out of necessity we have to, so we learn to?
Well, yes, to an extent. Because I do remember, like, at the very beginning, when I was a new parent, like, I hadn't been a parent as long as you had, and you had your ways, and I had my own ideas of how I wanted to raise Junior. And so when you would do something that didn't fit the direction for that I wanted to be able to guide Junior in, then I would get pretty annoyed. I'd be like, why are you doing this? Don't you see what repercussions this is going to have? You haven't worked on your childhood trauma, and that's why you're passing this down, and you're doing this so unconscious. You
Judgy wudgy.
super judgy, like and it would just be terrible for all of us involved.
Yeah.
And so at some point I was just like, I mean, I saw this later. It was on a Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith or something, and I forgot exactly what he said, but he said something like, motherhood or being a mother is the true doorway to a father being a good father to his parents or something like that. And what I understood from that was that if the mom doesn't give the dad enough space to just be a father, then the child will never truly get to have a full engaging and connected relationship
With the father.
because
Right.
the mother is the doorway. She is the gateway. And if
Right.
me as a mom, if I disrespect you
Yeah.
in front of Junior, or if he feels like I don't
value yeah.
your perspective, what you're bringing to the table, then he, honestly, maybe it's not like this with all kids, but at least with Junior, he'll take my side.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
will.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that and I felt that, I was like, oh, this is really unfair, and I'm so full of bullshit too. And for you, you've been much better at giving me the space to just parent the way that I the best that I can. And so it took a couple of years, to be honest. But once I got it, I was like, okay, yes, you do you.
Right.
And I do me. And then that's when I feel like it became more of a collaboration than it was, rather than being like just a gamang, like,
Right.
holding it in frustration.
Also, just like helps to not be like stressed out all the time.
That's
if
nice.
if you do that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the thing, is that it's really true, because it's kind of the whole like happy wife, happy life sort of thing, which, whatever. It's
Not whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, yes.
Fair
but
enough.
Moms really are the gateway to good fathering, because they're like the they are the foundation.
They're the portal.
Yeah, they're the portal. They're the foundation. And if mom is not happy, it doesn't matter if you and like myself and Junior are having a good time. If you don't like it and you're not happy with it, there's this underlying hum of just, ick.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
it's not just me. It's with you too.
No, of course, but I don't
But my
know.
ick is so much more stick.
No, I don't know. I don't want to get woo woo about it, but I feel like Junior comes from your body.
Yeah, he does. That's
You
not
know,
woo woo. That's like actual physical.
yeah, he comes from inside of your body. Like you guys were
Yeah,
connected in a way that him and I will never be connected. You know,
right.
just
Okay,
a whole
sure.
like on a chemical,
Yes.
biological level, you guys were connected. You
Mm-hmm.
guys had the same experience. You ate the same. You got the same nutrients and the same food. You know what I mean? Like there's
We
some.
ate that watermelon together.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant, the only thing I wanted to eat, the only thing I could eat was meat, red, bloody meat, and watermelon and
You
spicy food. Yeah.
you know, and so I think there's something there, especially for the early years where there is that super strong bond. And I can't say that I haven't been jealous of that at sometimes, you know, just the fact that like moms, I understand. First of all, let me just say that I understand that being a mother and you know, having to breastfeed and to hold a child within you for 9 months or 10 months and give birth and all of those things, it's not enviable. I know I'm not jealous of that. It's just it's a huge, you know,
Yeah,
it's a
some
huge.
women have it easier than others, but my pregnancy was pretty rough.
But the connection and the bond and the sharing of oxytocin and all of those things, I envy that. You know, as
Well, okay, can I just speak to that though? So in my case, I had to have an emergency C-section, which means that I got an epidural and I hear that that kills a lot of that oxytocin. All of that stuff that was built up, that's what gets released after you push the baby through your canals, and then that's the great gift at the end. But I feel like I was robbed of that. I'm not 100% on the science, but I have read a little bit here and there that that's what happens, and I feel like that directly connected to my having postpartum depression for a couple of years. After I had Junior for like months, and I've talked about this before, for
yeah,
like about 5 months, I did not feel connected to him at all. When I looked at him, I was like, "Oh my God, who is this stranger?"
yeah.
And I loved him, and I knew that consciously in my mind, but I could not feel it in my heart, and I would beat myself up for months and months. And I'm sorry, I'm really going off topic,
No, it's fine.
but yeah, so for me, every bit of oxytocin and connection that Junia and I have, I feel like we really worked towards it together to create that. It was not a gift, it was not a given. When
Yeah,
he was first born, after, well, after I gave birth, there was one moment when, I was in the hospital room and you were at home, and I called and I had just this one moment of connection with Junia.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. This is such a gift. Thank you for this absolutely perfect moment. And then after that, it felt like the gates had shut down and I was disconnected from him, from myself,
Right.
from everything. And so, yeah, I don't think that all mothers, especially not in my case, I was not given that
Right.
connection.
It's not like just because you're a mom, you're
Yeah.
gonna feel all these things,
No,
right?
no, not at all.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. But okay, so maybe I should take it out of the realm of being a mom or a dad and just saying as a parent, just being able to provide that space for the other parent to be who they are and parent in their own style is huge. And like just to not feel judged for the way that you behave, the way you interact with
Yeah.
your style and the way that you handle situations, or the way you prepare a shitty lunch, or the way that you cheat on some things, like,
Yeah.
and
Fair.
just be like, that's okay, it's all right, and to know that deep down inside of my heart that you're not going to judge me for it, and that I'm free to be me is huge. It's like it's a huge gift. If it wasn't that, I'd be kind of a little bit trepidatious, always sort of on my toes, being like, is this going to
Yeah.
upset you? Are you okay with this? Like, am I okay to bring this up? Is this topic safe? Are we okay to go here? And to just not have that fear is really big. So thank you.
Oh, well, I mean, thank you too. Thank you. Yeah, so every now and again I'll take stock about in my life and see what parts are going smoothly and what parts are not. And the one thing that consistently keeps coming up is this is actually where we're doing very well is definitely in the parenting area, and I try to figure out why that is, and I realized it's because like almost literally every single night after Junior goes to sleep, we talk about Junior.
It's true.
We
Yeah.
talk about our parenting. I
Yeah.
talk about, okay, when this happened, I noticed this about myself, or I noticed this about
Mm-hmm.
you. Let's dive into that. And
Yeah.
so I honestly, literally think that is the one reason is because that's okay. That's what we're consistent about.
Yeah.
Talking about
It's true.
Junior,
Well,
making
it's
sure we're
not. I
being
don't even think
parents.
we're talking always about Junior. I think we're talking about ourselves
I mean,
and
yeah.
the way that we interact with Junior. But that's a huge difference, right? It's a difference between saying like, "Oh, he's doing this or he's doing that or his behavior this, his
Right.
behavior that," to being what's our behavior?
Yeah.
What's the way we're interacting? What's the way we why am I triggered when this happens? Why am I so uncomfortable when Junior does this?
Yeah.
Or why when we're out in public and this happens, I feel this way. And so I think more than the focus being on Junior, it actually is about us in a
How
strange
we
way.
can embetter ourselves for him and
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, we everyone somebody has written a comment that says, "You guys aren't lazy. You are great parents."
Okay, can I speak to that though?
Be my guest.
First of all, thank you so much for that comment. That's really kind. But the whole reason why we're great parents, or at least for me, I can only speak for myself. The only reason why I committed to becoming a great parent is because I did not want to be still having to work out and iron out problems with my son when he's like a 30-year-old guy and that we haven't handled it. We haven't taken care of it. We don't already have a good foundation for open communication and empathy and connection. And so I was like, well, then the one thing that I know about human development and their brain is that from the ages of 0 to 7 years old, that decides every single pattern that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life until you become conscious of it and able to change it. And so I was like, well, these 7 years, this is go time. We're going to do it. I'm going to figure that shit out so I can be lazy. I don't want to do that stuff. I don't want to have the first conversation of like, oh my God, your life was so terrible when he's 50 and I'm like 70 something, So I just wanted to just take care of that shit now, or I'm so lazy. And that's why lazy parents. It's working hard now in the hopes and promise of one day finally being able to just relax. So that's why lazy parents.
Well, it's kind of like I was a teacher in a kindergarten for what, 6 years? And the thing is, if you set up your class from the very beginning and do the hard work of
Yeah.
setting boundaries and being fair with acting on the things that you say you're going to act on, taking care of problems when you see them right away and not letting things turn into greater, bigger problems, you can actually spend the rest of your year being a little bit lazy because your whole class is going to know where the boundaries are. They're going to be able to respect them, respect each other, and have a good time. And all of a sudden you can kind of kick your feet up, and not really, but relatively speaking. Whereas if you're lazy in the beginning and kind of like, oh, I'll do a quick fix for this. Oh, I'll do a quick fix. Oh, I'll put a bandage on that. Oh,
Yeah.
this person is acting up this way. A lot of times it's the teachers, not the kids, but whatever. If you don't handle those situations at the beginning of your year, you're going to end up working super hard for the rest of the year with just like putting out fires, putting out fires, putting out fires.
Yeah.
Instead of like teaching your, why do I have to get stuck in analogies? But instead of teaching everyone how to, handle matches safely, you're going to be putting out fires all the time.
So you're gonna constantly be in a state of reactivity and stress as opposed to just having already proactively laid out the boundaries or the expectations.
But we do really talk about parent stuff pretty much every night after Junior goes to bed, and it's just little things.
It is. It's little check-ins, and weren't even doing it like consciously. I think we really just cared. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I really, I think so many of like, okay, I had a hard problem with the idea of talking about parenting because it's like, I don't know I don't have any good advice. I'm not an expert in anything, when it comes to children or kids or parenting. And I thought about it. I was like, gosh, well, what can I talk about and what can I say? And do I have anything to offer at all in any sort of way? And I don't. I really don't. But what I do know is that it's kind of not about parenting. Parenting is not really about parenting your kids.
No, it never is.
Because all kids are different. All situations are different. Should I breastfeed or should I is the bottle bad for a child? Vaccinations versus non-vaxxers, or this or that, the other. Like, all of that stuff is not as important as me as a human being kind of figuring out what it is I need to heal from my traumas of being parented weirdly.
Yeah.
And healing those things. Because if I can do that, then just naturally I'm going to be in a better place to just accept Junior as he is. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with him.
No.
There was never anything wrong with him. He came out perfect and he's great. It's us that have all the fucking issues. And we're just like, I'm like, how many of my issues can I sort out and which ones am I going to fail at sorting out and pass on to him?
Yes,
exactly. And it's inevitable. I'm going to pass on some of my issues to him. I can't help it. But hopefully if I work hard enough on myself, maybe I can pass on less than was passed on to me.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll come up with some new ones that weren't passed on to me and pass those on, but,
Yeah. Definitely.
Susie says analogies are great.
I love analogies. That's how I live my life.
Yeah.
Analogies.
Yeah, analogies are great, but when you start like mixing metaphors, it kind of gets crazy.
Then it becomes a whole new delicious soup.
Analogies are great, but they're also dangerous. They're dangerous,
Yeah.
They're so powerful that they become almost dangerous. Like symbols and that kind of stuff, like symbols and the cross or the swastika or like these are harmless shapes that have taken on such power, right?
Okay. All right.
I don't know. Sorry.
No, I understand everything. So apparently, this is something that Masa does because his mom did it to him all the time. Whenever any kind of issue would come up, she would take it to the extreme.
No, it's not. My mom wouldn't do that. My mom did that in math. She said she taught me that if you're ever having a hard time understanding a math problem, either blow up or shrink the numbers. And that will give you an easier way to visualize what you're trying to work out. And so I think I just took that on. I think in a lot of ways I problem solve using sort of what I learned in math for life, like if I have a hard time understanding if something is healthy or unhealthy, sometimes I have to blow it up much bigger than the actual thing I'm looking at to see, like, where does this lead?
Right.
If expanded, if this gets blown up out of proportion, where does this lead? And so, yeah, I don't know. That's just my style.
And or it is. And
so things get very grand very quickly.
They get very grand very quickly, and then me and Junior sit there like, okay, Daddy. We're like, but what about what's really happening in this moment? You just take us out of this moment and you send us to the future or send us to the path where it started, where it'll end, and we're just like in the middle, like, when Daddy will be back anytime now. Don't you guys worry. We're going to see him any moment now.
But,
I do think it's a good practice. It's a good exercise, too.
I mean, I do that with behavior, too, I think existentially, or like I do the thought experiment of like, okay, this is an interesting way to think, but what if everyone thought this way? Then what does the world look like?
Right.
Like, okay, it works for me, but what if everyone does it. Then is it gonna work? And I'm like, no, it's bad. It's,
Right.
I don't know.
Interesting.
That's I don't know. That's just my way of trying to work problems out.
Yeah.
I blow them up.
Very.
And so that's why with analogies, okay, back
Okay,
to analogies.
back to the analogies, yes.
It's like we grew up on analogies.
Yes.
Like if you think about Jesus and the cross
Mm-hmm.
and dying for your sins and the shepherd and the sheep and the wolf and the
Drinking blood.
the lion and the dragon and the beast and the
Yeah,
eating
yeah.
of the flesh and the drinking of the blood, they're all analogies, right?
Yes,
We
yes.
don't mean any of these things literally. They're all analogies, but with them comes so much power.
Yeah,
know?
because that's literally how our brains are wired to learn.
Mm-hmm.
We've been passed down stories around the campfire ever since we
Right.
were, cave people. This is the way our brains were wired, and that's why stories and analogies are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with them. It's just literally you can manipulate people very easily
Right.
through them.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
I love analogies. They're great.
Well, that's great because I got a lot of them.
I didn't say dad jokes. I said analogies.
That's what I'm saying. I've got a lot of analogies. Everything becomes I'm like, why can't I
me
just
too.
talk in reality? Why can't I just
because
"Here is
we
what
know
is."
because we learn through analogies and then we apply them to reality. That's why we don't talk about reality and then we live the analogy.
Exactly.
No.
But see, this is
not the
yeah.
way.
But see, when we were growing up, we lived in analogies and then applied them to other analogies. You know,
well-
like your sheep will become warriors, and you're like, wait, now we're just mixing analogies.
I don't think that was every home. I think that was mainly your home.
No, that
And
was
David.
the.
But anyways,
We kind of went crazy off topic.
sorry. Yeah, the topic was about boredom, and
it's
this
fine.
is where boredom took us into analogies.
This is what I'm hoping for in a way, is that we just have a place to jump off from.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's
so
great.
we don't spend the first 30 minutes just like hemming and hawing. Like,
Even so, that might kind of happen until we find a piece of meat to dig our teeth into.
oh, let's do a little bit of housekeeping.
Oh, okay.
One thing, guys, is if you ever want to listen to this while you're on a jog or you're, getting some exercise or you're doing some housework or whatever, we have a podcast version. That's on iTunes. You can find it there. And if you're listening on
Also,
iTunes,
Spotify.
yeah, and Spotify as well. If you're listening on iTunes, you can also watch the video version on YouTube or Facebook. So find us where you find us. Just
Find us where it works for you.
if you're on Facebook, we're the Lazy Parents. If you're on YouTube, we're the Lazy Parents. I think you'll find us.
You'll find us
know.
somewhere. We're out there.
We're out there.
You know what? I'll tell you who will find us. Laura will find us. Oh, yeah. Laura, you're so on it, man.
Laura's like a sleuth.
Yeah.
She finds.
Alter ego detective? Private eye? I don't know. It's awesome.
We're slowly running out of batteries, guys. Slowly, my
yeah. And
battery
it's-
is not charging faster than this program is sapping batteries from my computer. So,
And so, because of technical complications,
Well, this-
and it also being around about an hour,
but I mean, we can keep going for a little longer. We still have 11%. Laura says, "I'd love to have you two talk about the cult mentality and how the leader gets the followers."
I love that. And Laura, that will totally be a theme. It might come up quite a bit.
I'll always find
She'll
you.
find
says
us,
Laura.
right? Yeah, I can always count on Laura. I love it.
Let's save that, Laura, for our next podcast or a different podcast that we're gonna do, because that's a
That's a
huge
big topic that can go many places.
It's large, isn't
It's
it?
large because there's so you can take it and you can look at it from the macro and the micro, because there were so many microcosms. Like each little home was its own little microcosm.
Yeah, and there's also stuff like the CIA and shit.
Yes, there's also that kind of stuff too.
You know?
So this can take many, many different paths, and we'll probably explore a lot of them in future episodes. So, but yes, thank you. I love that. If there's anything else you guys are interested in us talking about, then just should I say leave a comment or send us an email?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how they'd send us an email.
Because we have what?
You can send us an email at thelazyparentspodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. And now that we've said it out loud, we'll learn to start checking it.
That's right. One day we'll check that email.
One day we'll check that email, but
might
comments are probably more likely to be seen.
Yeah, maybe we'll make a poll or a thread or something of people leaving ideas for suggested
totally.
topics of conversation.
Anything that you'd like us to pry open a little bit more and take a look at, that'll be fun.
Well, guys, we'll be back here again next week for more craziness.
That's right.
Thanks for listening. We love you lots.
Love you.
Anything else you want to say, or anything you want to get off of your heart before we wrap up and say goodbye? This is probably the part that we don't know how to do the
Not
most,
yet.
is
Not
the
yet.
saying goodbye.
It's time to say goodbye part. I would say, guys, drink water. Don't fall asleep with your makeup on. Floss your teeth, and take care of your babies. Take care of you. We'll figure it out.
And men out there, I know there's a lot of attack on the patriarchy and stuff, but stay strong. It's not about you.
It's not about you.
It's not about you. You're great.
Nothing is about you.
Don't hate on yourself. You were born this way.
Yeah.
Just love
You're
yourself.
on the right
It's okay.
track, baby.
You're
you
on
were
the right
born this
track.
way.
Embrace your masculinity. It's
Embrace
okay.
your masculinity.
Just be nice. Don't
Crush the femininity.
Yeah, don't crush and don't.
Also, women,
do bad
don't crush
things.
the men either.
Yeah,
Can we just
girls.
work together?
Come on.
Toxic femininity is also a real thing. Let's just say it. Let's be real,
Yeah, and like.
I don't think toxic femininity is what is going to help or improve toxic masculinity or the patriarchy. So.
But you know what?
If you're,
I don't have enough experience with toxic masculinity. I need more experience so I can get on that level and
you're
really
getting
understand
there right now.
Really?
Yeah, inching our way closer. But anyways, we'll figure out a way to wrap this up in a nice and concise way that it's done and that we're not going to talk another 10 minutes after we say that it's done.
All right, shall we arm our way out?
Oh, is that what we're doing? Okay.
Right, deep breath. 3 deep breaths. Ready?
Bye.